hi YouTube, because I know that there's nobody in here right now, obviously. I literally just started the live. So yeah, just quick hello, wanted to say hi. Hope you stick around. We are doing Fright Day, hence the flannel. I think I'm going to try and wear flannel whenever we do Fright Day to try and maybe make it stand out a little bit. I don't know, maybe some sort of normalcy. I'm not fucking sure. Yes, but we are back with Fright Day today. It is Friday, so we're gonna go ahead and get rolling. I'm just over here making sure I've got my list, but we're all good to go. So all right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I don't really have a whole lot of intro for you guys today. I can't really think of much. All I do have to say is I know I haven't said it on here. I know I say it in my intro and my outro and everything that I have on my little script, but I know I haven't really said it to you guys directly. If you guys know anybody, or if you guys yourselves who's watching this write stories, they don't have to be scary stories for Fright Day. We can even turn it from Fright Day into Fan Day. Like if you guys have enough of scary stories or just any kind of stories that you write that you would like to have narrated by me, feel free to send them my way. Honestly, I'm not sure if my links for my social media get put in the description in YouTube, so if they don't, I will try to start doing that. I apologize very deeply that I have not done that. So yeah, all right. Got my emotional support pillow, my gnomes. Thought that'd be a nice little change for support. But all right, we're gonna go ahead and get started and start recording. So stick around, enjoy the stories. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Phoenix Reads. Today's episode is a series of scary stories. And as usual, the usernames whose stories we're reading will be in the description below. Please go give their story and any others that they may have some love. And feel free to leave a comment on their post and even tag me in the comments, letting them know you heard their story here. My username for Reddit is in the description. You can even tag me in stories you'd like to hear me read, or send them to me yourself. We'll get started right after this ad. I just realized how different my voice sounds when I'm talking to you normally versus when I'm recording. Huh. I don't know if I like that. Check. Aight. Gosh, what even episode is this? I don't even remember anymore. I never remember. Who's got the time to remember what episode you're on? Like, seriously? I think it's episode 9, though. You know what? Let's just pop over to Apple Podcasts, which is one of the... Oh, it's 8. One of the many streaming services that you can stream me on if you're here in the live and, you know, are curious as to what we're doing here. Let that process for a moment. No. Alright, and I've already got the first story pulled up, so that's at least a bonus. There are some I'm still waiting for permission to use, so you might have to bear with me if I have to switch over and look, but I'm probably going to say that again in the recording just in case. But I will, because I think I've got it figured out. I think so. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes I get so into this that I also can't guarantee that we get to the point where I have one that I'm still waiting on. If that makes sense. I may not have... They may be longer, or we may get into too much of a rant to talk about them. But yes, so... Alright. Here we go. Thank you guys for sticking around after that ad. Alright, and we are just going to roll right into it today. We're going to go ahead and get started with Creepy Dude at Burger King. Hold on, I might turn you guys up a little bit, mess with the mic, the sensitivity a little bit. If you hear some random noise music that sound like lullaby in the background. My kid is, I play actually some soothing Minecraft videos. Yeah, that's a thing. For him to help me sleep, and it also helps kind of drown out my voice when I'm out here recording because I do it before he wakes up. So yeah, if anybody's interested, I would totally like look up relaxing Minecraft video ASMR because it's actually really nice. Alright, this first one is called Creepy Dude at Burger King. This one isn't too exciting, but still creepy nonetheless. It happened at another burger joint, but I'm using BK for anonymity. This happened to my fiance. She is on vacation and has our puppy with her. They flew states away. She was walking into BK with her friends, and this chain-smoking looking guy asked if he can hold our puppy. First red flags, since strangers usually ask if they can just pet the puppy, never had anyone ask to hold him. They go in and get their stuff and start walking back to their cars. The creepy dude pops out of nowhere and says, "Oh look, it's the girl who wouldn't let me hold her puppy." Fuck you! Sorry, I usually try to wait till the end of stories to like make a sidebar note, but fuck that guy. At that point, my fiance quickly got into her car and her friends was nearby watching in case anything happened. They pulled out and this guy gets in his car, which was parked kitty corner to my fiance's. He followed her for a few miles and then breaks off. Like I said, definitely not as crazy as the other ones here, but was still very creepy to her and to me when she called to tell me about it. Bruh. Like, I have only ever had, I guess I can say, sorry, I'm adjusting, one creepy kind of incident. I was on my way home. This was probably like 12 years ago, and I was at a stoplight, and so the stoplight, it was 2 lanes, it was a 4-lane across the way, 2 lanes going one way, 2 lanes going the other. I was at a stoplight, and I just, like any other normal person, I kind of like started glancing around. Like, I had my boyfriend at the time with me in the car, and I'm like glancing around, just looking around, and I look, and in the next lane, like a car forward, there was this dude turned, his head just turned, staring straight at me. Like, eyes open, we lock eyes for a second, and he's just staring at me. And I'm like, that's weird. So I get up, so light turns green and I just go, because I'm just like, that's really fucking creepy, putting myself away from the situation. He slows down, because again, he was in the next lane, a little bit further. He slows down, gets behind me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And we were on our way home, and we get there, pull in front of where we lived, which was with his parents, and this dude, real slow, drives by us. And at the end of the street was a cul-de-sac, and so he had to turn around to get out. And I was just like, I'm not getting out of the fucking car. Like, what is even going on? Like, he was staring right at me. Like, what is even going on? And, the dude, like, eventually makes his way back here, and I'm, like, just sitting in the car, like, I'm not getting out of the freaking car. Like, there's no way I'm getting out of this car. And my ex's mom had come out because she'd seen us park, or she'd seen me pull up and park and then not get out of the car for 5 minutes. And so she's standing out on, the doorstep, like, staring at me, like, what are you guys doing? Like, get inside. And my boyfriend at the time gets out, looks at the dude as the dude, like, pulls back around and is even with the car, and he goes, dude, what's your problem? And he's just like, oh, sorry, he looks at me again, he goes, looking for something, and then just speeds off, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And I looked at him, I looked at my boyfriend at the time, and I go, I don't know what happened, but I know I'm not cute enough to get abducted, so what the fuck just happened? I don't know. It was the most bizarre incident I had ever experienced. Maybe besides my alien incident, but I'm not going to get into that unless somebody wants me to get into that and requests it, but I will save that for maybe another Fright Day. Alright, we're going to get into this next one. It is called The Stranger and the Cadaver Dog. I had posted this over on our Let's Not Meet, but after a few weeks, it was taken down because it didn't fit the sub. Anyway, I thought you all in this sub might like it. Even though I've told it before, I thought it might be worth retelling. An old friend of mine had a canine search and rescue operation and had several dogs that had different skills. Hold on, I'm gonna adjust the mic here for a second. I feel like it's too sensitive, I guess we're gonna say. He had dogs that were trained for for different things. One to search for human remains, one that was trained to search for live survivors, including through the rubble of accident or disaster sites, and even a little dog that could detect bed bugs. I've heard about those. I would sometimes help in the training of the dogs by heading into the woods or in hard-to-reach areas, and I loved doing it. It's amazing to see these incredible animals working. Plus, I loved them. I sat with them a lot when he was out searching in different parts of the country for actual victims. One afternoon, we were walking through the park with the cadaver dog, a beautiful German Shepherd, who was the face of the company. Not working, but we did have our canine search and rescue attire on when a man approached. He stopped us to ask if he could pet her, which is not uncommon, and she was super friendly and sweet, so we said, of course. The weird thing is that the moment he stopped, the dog immediately gave her signal and laid down right by his feet. My friend and I looked at each other, almost in horror, because the dog was signaling that she detected human remains. She was the most experienced of all the dogs and would not have made a mistake. It was clearly her signal. It spooked us both so much that we cut the conversation short and left quickly. To this day, we have no idea what that was about. I should also add that she was trained to detect human remains. She was taught not to alert on animal remains. I still think about that day a lot. After posting it in the other sub, there have been a lot of theories from fellow Redditors. Everything from mortician to rotting toes, or even a dead man's shoes. But none of those reasons would have caused this response, and I honestly still have no idea, and neither does my friend who is a professional. I think seeing him spooked was even more unnerving. He's an army vet that's been in combat and an EMT and a firefighter and has seen some shit, so he's pretty calm in every situation. So, while reading that, I had a thought. What if he had walked, like, maybe past an area that maybe, because they said that they were hiking. Well, thanks, Hermione. That is totally the ASMR we needed right now. My cat just threw up. Fantastic. I apologize for that noise. So what I was thinking of is that they were it says they were walking through a park. I guess for whatever reason my brain, while I was reading it, came up with like a trail type of thing, like maybe almost hiking in like the woods or something. And so I guess I was thinking, like, what if he had passed by maybe a patch nearby a dead body, and it, the smell would obviously get on his legs, and dog noticed it, sat down. And then I'm sitting here going like, no, they were in a park, so I guess that wouldn't actually count. And also, before I forget my thought process on this again, if you pass by a working animal and like they have the vest on, like it clearly states that they are a working animal, please don't ask to pet it. Please don't be that person. I understand puppies are cute. Doggos are heckin' cute. Please do not ask to pet a working dog, because it makes it really hard for that working dog to do their job. Yeah. I just had to get that out there before it ate at me and I felt bad for not saying anything. All right, on to the next one. This one is a little bit longer than the last two. Creepy guys watched me and my friend. So, for background information, me and my friend are both reasonably scrawny teenage girls. We were camping, and it was very foggy outside, and it was like mid-evening. So, my friend and I were hanging out at the beach, looking at all the sandcastles from the competition that took place earlier that day. And we had to use the bathroom and wash the sand off of our feet, etc. So, she was washing her feet off, and I was going to the bathroom. And I heard the distinct sound of keys jangling. Keep that in mind, as I think it's important. So, after I got out of the bathroom, my friend was waiting for me just outside, and I asked if she'd seen anyone leave the bathroom, but she had just gotten there apparently. We were just standing around when I heard the keys again. I looked up and saw a man. He was in his mid to late 20s, early 30s at the latest. He had extremely greasy blonde hair, sunken eyes, a hoodie on with the hood up. Overall, a pretty sketchy looking dude. He circled the bathrooms. Me and my friend were standing by a few times after that, but he was always watching us when we were in view, which I took note of. My friend still didn't notice though. Anyway, a minute or two later, she asked me if I wanted to go sit at a picnic table with her, and I accepted because I wanted to get away from him. So, we walked over to the table, but he followed us, and I know because of his keys. We sat at the table, and she was talking to her boyfriend on Snapchat, and I was reading over her shoulder, as I normally do. But while I was reading with her, I told her that guy was watching us, and about what I noticed before we went to the table. As I was telling her about it, I felt like I was being watched, so I looked over and made direct eye contact with the guy who had the keys. After we both gave an awkward smile, he broke the eye contact. He walked over to another man who I didn't get a good look at, and they kept looking at my friend and I. So we got up and walked over to the little playground near where we were, and we just kind of talked about this. We just kind of talked, but this time she was paying attention to where the guys were. Not even a minute later, the two men walked by over to a small patch of woods that had a red car parked near it. Due to where I was sitting, I couldn't see the men anymore, but my friend could, and she said that the blonde one kept peeking back at us from behind a tree, and the other one was out of sight. So, we decided to use this to our advantage, and we ran over to the little restaurant type thing, which gave us a clear view of them, and them a clear view of us. The blonde guy got into the car with who we believed to be the other guy. Now, our fight or flight was kicking in, and we both chose flight. So we went behind the restaurant, which was closed, and had been for around an hour. We both ran down the stairs behind a transport truck that had been there since early the day before, so we knew the driver wasn't there. My friend looked out from behind the truck and saw the car from earlier circling around the area, so as soon as it was out of sight, we ran as fast as we could, and thankfully there were no other people around. So we calmed down, knowing that the guys probably wouldn't come for us with other people there. We made it back to our campsite safely and watched movies and stuff before we went to bed, and we didn't see the guys for the rest of the trip. Now I know that probably wasn't the scariest of encounters out there, but it left us shaken to the core because who knows what would have happened if I wasn't always hyper aware of my surroundings. So that's a big thing. I really do believe that when you're out and about, like, it doesn't matter how many friends you're with, always kind of pay attention to your surroundings. It never hurts anyone to know what's going on around you. And obviously, like in this kind of situation, you never know when you're being watched, unfortunately. I hate going to the store with just my son and I. It always makes me paranoid because he is a very cute kid. Like, he is adorable. He's a good looking little boy, and I get complimented on him a lot. Mostly his haircuts, which I do myself because he enjoys his little mohawks. But, yeah, I get told about, I get, you know, complimented about him a lot, and it does make me very paranoid because he is also a very social kid, which he gets from me. I was also a very social kid, and I joke with him a lot. I think at least a lot of parents have made this joke where it's like, stop going up to strangers, you're gonna get kidnapped, given they're gonna give you back because of how annoying you are, but still. Yeah, I would definitely still always keep an eye out. I have my concealed carry license, and if I ever have to go somewhere where I know things have been a little bit more sketchy lately, like the Wally World, I usually try to bring our gun. It's just a safer bet at the end of the day. All right, so on to the next one. The man on a bike. Okay, first of all, this story is not finished. It happened to me like a day ago, and I am really stressed, so I need to tell you guys. My name is Axel, and I am 16. I live in a really safe place, familiar area, and it's really rare we see police, officers, or police dogs. I am a big sports guy, and right now I am training really hard to upgrade my cardio, and this is an important detail. So yesterday, when I finished my day at work, I walked by a forest and saw 2 police cars. I remember saying to myself that this was weird, but I didn't think much about it. 30 minutes later, I go outside to do my jogging. About 10 minutes into my jogging, a really weird and suspicious man passes right by me and on a bike. He was so close, he almost hit me with his bike. So I looked to see what he looks like. He was a man, about 30 years old, with really short hair and a big tattoo on his neck. Also, he was having a big backpack that seemed really heavy. After he almost hit me, I was thinking he would look back to see if I'm okay, but he didn't even pay a single bit of attention to me, like he was really in a hurry. So I continue to run, and the story could end there, but it didn't. I run past another police car this time. He was talking to a guy on a bicycle, not the same one that almost ran me over. And he let the guy pass, so I go back to my house wondering what a really weird run I had. When I get back into my house, my parents ask me if my run was good. I tell them yes, but that it was weird. There was a police car that was talking to a guy, and I said that there were 2 police cars in front of the forest, and my parents told me, it's probably because they are searching for this guy. And then they show me a picture of a man, about 30 years old, with really short hair and a tattoo on the neck. They said that he was being searched by police because he escaped a therapy house and committed a lot of crime, aggression, possession of illegal weapons, etc. I told my parents, and we agreed that it was probably him, and I was very lucky that he didn't hit me with his bike. I didn't insult him because he probably would have had a different, more dangerous reaction. That's it for my story. If there's more detail, I will inform you via comments. I know it's not that scary, but it was for me. I looked through the comments real quick. There is no other update. Just in case, but in case you guys want to go follow it, just in case there is an update to it eventually. See, now that's kind of one of those moments where my big mouth would have gotten me in a lot of trouble. Because for me, it's natural habit when somebody almost hits me with their car to be like, hey asshole, watch the fuck where you're going. Yeah, I am not a smart woman. Oh well. I'm still alive now. I've yet to be stabbed or shot or I'd like to say that I haven't been beaten up, but I have most definitely been beaten up for my smart ass mouth. Possibly in the way you're thinking, possibly not. Depends on what way you're thinking. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get into the next one. I keep getting reoccurring nightmares which might have caused me to be haunted. I needed a moment to soak that in, because I found this very difficult to talk about with others, as they've never believed me or just laughed at me. I'm still trying to figure out what happened. It started when I was around 9, I think. When I was in year 6, before age 9, I would have normal dreams, happy dreams that a child would normally have. But then my family started falling apart, and it set me off starting to get nightmares. I remember the first one. My first nightmare was I was hiding and running away from some weird creature. It was set in a creepy, abandoned theme park. I remember running into a building that had a huge, endless play park in it. I would climb, run, slide, hide from the creature, but no matter where I went, it would always find me. Then it caught me, and I woke up sweating and crying. I didn't think anything of it at first. I just thought it was a normal nightmare that people had. That's when things started getting strange. Every night I'd have the same nightmare, but with a different creature each time. Just like the first one, it would always end the same way. I couldn't escape. After getting those nightmares for a few weeks, strange things kept happening to me. I'd wake up with bruises and scratches. I'd feel stones being thrown at me when there's no one around. I'd feel thorns brushing against my arm or leg, even though there were none there. I kept seeing things and hearing things too. It got to the point where I refused to go to sleep at night, as I thought the nightmares were the cause of it all. The nightmares stopped for a few years, and so did the hauntings. Except after I turned 17, I had the nightmare again. But I noticed something in it that I never saw when I was younger. In my past nightmares, in every nightmare I ever got till 17, there was a man in a long black trench coat with an oversized hood that covered his face. He would get closer and closer to me in every nightmare I had. But when I had the nightmare that started it all off, he was almost right in front of me. What scared me the most wasn't the nightmares. It was the fact that I had seen this man before in person. I don't remember when I saw him, but I remember how, as he was standing in my room, staring at me when I was younger than 17. Ever since then, I haven't had a single nightmare, and the hauntings are less frequent. I'm 20 now and living with my fiance, but I'm still scared to go to sleep as the image of that man is always in my brain. I've always struggled to go to sleep after remembering seeing the man in person. Woo! I might have to switch over. I completely apologize. Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm going to click on the right next one. I don't know if this is normal or not. I have never had a reoccurring nightmare before. Like, ever. I've had, like, I don't even want to say similar nightmares. Like, I have had nightmares with the same theme. Like, I've had, like, zombie nightmares or, like something happening and losing my family type of nightmares. But I can't say I've ever had the same nightmare before multiple times unless I have and just have not remembered them. Which, to be fair, that's quite the possibility. I think anybody can have, like, a reoccurring dream and just not remember it. But the haunting thing, as somebody who lives in a haunted apartment, if you follow me on TikTok, or if you look for my TikTok, which you can probably find via some of my social medias, I've had, like, I think my most recent incident I have talked about on here before. I was working out here in the living room and my smart device went off. I'm not going to say her name because I don't feel like having her make another appearance on the podcast. I guess that was technically the last time, is we were talking about today I fucked up stories, and she just randomly decided to tell me about lizards. Nobody said her awake name. Nobody, told her to say anything. She just heard the word lizards and is like, I know about lizards. It's like a kid with ADHD, like, I know about Minecraft. So yeah, as somebody who does live in a haunted apartment, it's almost been 3 years we've been here, by the way, and I cannot wait to get the fuck out of here. If y'all saw how tiny our apartment is, you would understand. And to be fair, it's not even, like, the smallness of the apartment. It's honestly some of our neighbors that we have had over the last almost 3 years, because they have not made it better. Given we have had some amazing, great neighbors. But then we have also just had some bad ones, too. Anyway, back to the haunting things. I definitely can relate to the random scratches and feeling of being scratched as you're walking around and there being nothing there. I can also relate to the random bruises that you wake up with. I did that for years. I still do, but it's usually mostly like right above bones. So like me being a clumsy person, it's one of those things where I could be like, I probably just banged it and don't even realize it anymore because I'm dead inside. So I don't notice those things anymore. But a thing that you might want to look into if you believe in that type of thing is maybe just some sort of protection stones. You don't have to maybe look up stuff if there's anything that you can wear or anything that you can maybe just keep on you. I prefer not to have anything that I need to keep on me that I can't wear, mostly because I like wearing pajama pants. And most of my pajama pants are women's pajama pants, and they don't involve pockets because manufacturers suck ass. So if you can find anything, like either in a bracelet or maybe like an accent ring that is on a material that will not turn your skin green if you have that issue, or like a necklace or even earrings, always a thought, or even something you can constantly put in your hair, again, depending on, is always a thought too. It never hurts to have a little accessory that, also works in other ways. All right, on to the next one. Weird photo stalker. So, this has been going on since I was a freshman in high school. I'm currently a senior. My freshman year, I moved schools and began to hang out with a new friend group, and 2 friends from that group already lived in my neighborhood, so we'd usually all just hang out at my house. Whenever we would decide to go to my other friend's house, we'd just usually walk since it was close. Those friends were just renting their house at the time, so eventually they sold it and bought a house in the same neighborhood. When they moved in, we would start hanging out over there a lot since they had a huge garage in their backyard where we could hang out and we wouldn't be bothered too much. We began to get tired of walking all the way over there, since it's on the complete opposite side of my neighborhood, and since we couldn't just drive, we started to take a shortcut. There was a path through someone's lawn on my side of the neighborhood, so we began to start cutting through that yard during the day. My friend said that at one point they talked to the owners while outside, and they said that they didn't mind them walking through their yard as long as they didn't wake them up. Oh, they even turned off their motion sensor light so that we could cut through at night if we needed to, without causing a commotion. All is well for the next couple of weeks until we noticed that the man in the house across the street would always be outside with a cigarette taking pictures of us when walking up the road. This went on for a good year or 2, and we told my parents, but tried to just ignore it altogether since it creeped us the fuck out. The creepiest part about this was, no matter what time we would go through, he would be out there, watching and snapping pictures of us. It didn't matter if it was 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. He was always out there in the shadows of his porch with that fucking cigarette, no matter what. Fast forward to my junior year, and my friend is house sitting for his parents while on vacation. We're all staying over there and decide to run over to my house for food. On the way over, I see the cigarette and point it out to my friend. It's 2:30 a.m., mind you, and we can feel this dude staring at us. We begin to shit bricks and just walk faster and faster until we get off of that road. When we got back to my house, we were both really uneasy. So we grabbed a couple of knives and a can of mace before heading back with the snacks. We decided to grab flashlights as well since it was especially dark that night. We started up the road and I get that same feeling as soon as we get close to the house. I see what looks to be a person crouched behind a bush in the front yard, and I light the bush up and immediately see someone's shadow darting back and behind a tree. We start to walk faster, and I begin to look back every couple of seconds and see a silhouette of legs on the other side of the camper in their driveway, just standing perfectly still. I absolutely shat my pants and sprinted through the shortcut into my friend's back door. I don't know what this guy's intentions are, but they definitely do not seem very good. I don't know even walking through there now, he's always outside watching. Since then, one very strange thing has happened. I don't know if it was the same guy, but it very well could have been. One night, we were walking to the friend in my neighborhood's home and decided to take the long way around to my house so we could avoid the creepy dude. We drop him off and all is well, so we start walking. It's me and 3 other friends. We get almost to the end of the road at the stop sign when a white truck flies up to us, rolls down the window, and starts barking questions at us. I tried to remain calm and asked him if there was a problem, and he said someone in a blue hoodie walked onto his back porch and was banging on the glass door. One friend I was with was wearing a white hoodie, by the way, but nonetheless, this guy starts accusing him of doing it when we didn't go on anyone's porch whatsoever. He demands our names, and I just give him the first name and nothing else. He has his hand on his hip the entire time and is looking like he's about to burst a blood vessel in his head. He's so angry. We tell him we were on the complete opposite side of the neighborhood at the time of the incident, but he doesn't buy it and gets pissed and just screams at us, "Don't you boys know it's dangerous to be out here at this time?" And I said, "Now I do," and he pretended to drive off. We started walking back fast, and the entire 20-minute walk back, this creepy fuck is following us about 100 feet back in his truck at the pace we were walking. He followed us down 3 turns all the way to my house, and once he saw us go inside, he sped off. I decided not to wake my parents, which was stupid, but in hindsight, I definitely should have, so they could have gone outside and asked this weirdo what the fuck he was doing harassing us alone at 2 a.m. and stalking us back to my house. I don't know if it was the same guy, since he said the house was all the way on a different side of the neighborhood, but he could have been lying for whatever reason. Anyone unhinged enough to follow us home like that can't be taken seriously. So, how do I want to put this? Never, for one, as a child, never give anybody your name. I would always try to come up with, maybe a fake name to give somebody, especially if it's a stranger. Never give a stranger any personal information of yours. I don't care if it's in your neighborhood or anything like that, or if you've seen them before. If you don't personally know them, or your parents do not personally know them, and, it's not like you know that your parents and them... Every time I do Fright Day, I always end up yawning. It's probably something I'm going to talk to my son about eventually. But never, especially a stranger that just randomly pulls up on you like that, never give them your actual name right away. Because it's just, for one, very unnerving. And no stranger should ever have that type of information about you, just at all. It's scary to you. It's unsafe. Yeah, so I know in the moment, it's very, you get caught off guard. It's hard to make safe choices like that. I'm not saying at all that, you know, you're going to be able to do this. But if you can think about it, and if you can put it into practice, do so. Yeah, I think it would be a safer option. That, and I know you didn't have the choice because it's 2 a.m., but if you can ever avoid going home and leading a person following you to your house, try to do so. But again, at the time, it was kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you don't know how far this person was going to follow you for. You don't know what their intentions were once they found out where you lived. There wasn't any updates, so I'm assuming nothing came of it. But just in case, I hope everybody is safe and nothing did come of it, because that is very creepy. All right, on to, I think this might be our last one. It is a little bit of a girthy one. Not by a whole lot, but by a little bit more than the last few have been. So we're going to do this one. And then the people that are on the live, I usually do our excerpt or our extra episode that's on Fright Days. I do it all in one video that goes up on YouTube, and that's on the TikTok live. But yeah, and then we will have an extra today because I'm really interested to see what is happening in the next part of the series that we're reading. So don't forget to find that one if it did not show up for you before this one. A foreign man tried to buy me. Throwaway account because I don't want my coworkers to accidentally stumble upon this story and somehow be able to identify me. Some information about myself. I am a trans guy. I was born female and have been physically transitioning to male over the last 6 years using testosterone. I am 100% passing these days. I'm completely stealth at work. None of the guys have any idea I was it says a fab. I don't know if that's how you actually say it. If it's not, someone please correct me. Please, I don't want to be saying the wrong thing. Edit. A commenter asked what the paragraph above had to do with the story, and I'm really glad they did. It's important for me to be able to introduce myself when talking about stories from my past so that I can tell them in my current voice and not the one I used to have. Anyways, my story takes place when I was 15 years old. A lot of people would have considered 15-year-old me to be conventionally very pretty. I had long, dark brown, straight hair, freckles, tan skin, and blue eyes. This day, my mom and I were in Dillard's looking for a particular type of shirt I needed for school. Lucky me. I went to a public school that required uniforms, and our school colors were very common. So, a lot of the more affordable stores had been picked clean. I would consider Dillard's to attract a certain kind of customer most of the time. Mostly little old ladies that smell like powder. But I guess creeps can be anywhere. My mom and I were going from rack to find school shirts when I noticed a man nearby. I glanced up at him and he was staring at me, smiling. He was probably in his late 30s, very tan with shiny black hair. I looked away and continued searching for clothes. I guess my mom had noticed him too because I could feel that she was tense standing next to me. We calmly walked to a rack further away to see if he would follow, and he did. He kept a little distance, but his eyes stayed locked on me and he continued smiling. He must have watched and followed us for at least 20 minutes. My mom tested him again, and we moved to another rack once more. He followed. This time, he came up directly to us and spoke to my mom. "Is this your daughter?" My mom coldly told him, "Yes. She is very beautiful. A princess." Mama gave him a sharp "thank you" and went to pull me away. He reached for me and shouted, "I would like to buy her. I would like to buy your gorgeous daughter. I will take her with me and give her everything she's ever wanted." All while still trying to grab my arm. I kept taking steps backwards, but he continued advancing towards me, staring into my eyes, still talking about making me a princess at his palace. It was all happening so fast. Suddenly, Mama Bear mode kicked in, and like lightning, she pulled me behind her to get between me and the man. She pretty much chest bumped him backwards. Through gritted teeth, she hissed at him that if he valued his life, he would leave the store, get into his car, and drive away. He tried to protest once, but my mom roared, "Leave!" His eyes got huge, and he fell into a rack of khaki pants, trying to get away. We immediately left the store, and in the safety of our car, my mama broke down in tears. I don't remember even being afraid while everything was happening. I was ready to put up the fight of my life, but looking at the tears on my mom's face made me realize exactly how dangerous that situation was. This is definitely something that scares me with the idea of just having children in general and going out and about, is people like that. I've always been like a true crime kind of fanatic. Like, I remember even being like 11, 12 years old and being homesick from school. While most people were watching The Price is Right, I was watching Unsolved Mysteries. And to this day, I still love watching Unsolved Mysteries. And so the idea of being abducted or like stolen like that is absolutely terrifying to me. Given now, I would like to think that if I was ever in that type of situation, I know some steps to take. Like, for one, if anybody ever comes up to you like that, scream bloody fucking murder. Make the literal biggest scene of your life. Like, you know when you're out and about, or when your boyfriend takes you out or your girlfriend takes you out and they break up with you in a public place hoping that you will not make a scene. Bitch, make a scene. Make the biggest fucking scene you possibly can. Scream, scream spider, scream fire, scream fucking anything and about. If you are a small child, scream cuss words. Absolutely scream fuck, shit, bitch, cunt, whatever the fuck you can. Scream and make it loud and make it obnoxious. And another thing I have seen, I saw this on TikTok, I think just yesterday. I do not know the validity of it. I do not know how true it is, but if it is, tattoos and piercings make you less attractive to people that try to sex traffic. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. I have heard that it makes you less attractive because you have identifying factors. So, like, my tattoo on my wrist, I'm showing the people on video. My tattoo on my arms, I've got a large one on my back. It is very identifiable because, one, not only is it large and on my back, it is also unfinished, but it is very healed. And so that would be, I've had it for, God, I think over 14 years now. No, God, no, it hasn't been that long. 12-ish, somewhere around there. I think I got it when I was like 20, 21. So like 11 years. I have these identifying factors to me. Like, the people that can see me or that have looked at my videos. I have a very red face. I have very red cheeks. I have identifying factors to me. I think also having, like, bright hair also helps because it's, like, who's gonna look more stealable, I guess you can say, that you can get away with. The girl with the bright blue hair and a face full of piercings, or, you know, someone who doesn't have any piercings, doesn't have any identifiable tattoos or anything like that, and just is, you know, like a normal, not that there's anything wrong with anybody that dresses either way. But it's kind of one of those things where, like, unusual tattoos and piercings make you less attractive to be stolen because you have those identifying factors to you. I think that's why children are so stealable, is because, one, they're gullible. Two, it's like, you know, hey, like, I got a puppy over here, you want to come pet it? And don't get me wrong, if a white windowless van pulls up in front of me saying free dog pets, I'm definitely interested. My dumbass would get kidnapped very easily. You could pull up to me and be like, hey, I got this extra taco, do you want it? I'd be like, fuck yes. And then bam, Phoenix is drugged. But in all reality, I have had this conversation with my husband, how we have been here at home and we have heard a noise, a very, like, suspicious thudding or, like, sound, and while he gets up to go grab our pew-pew, I just run out the door, because I'm just like, I want to know what it is, like, does somebody need help, like, what's going on, like, somebody could be hurt, and I just, right out the door. And he sat me down, and he goes, listen, he's like, I know that you want to help, and I respect that to you, and I love you for that, but you gotta stop. You're gonna end up getting hurt. Something's gonna happen. You're gonna get kidnapped. You're gonna get shot. Like, you need to be more careful about it. And I never thought about it, like, hardcore, until one day at work. I think, like, it was, like, maybe, like, a day or two later. I work in the back at my retail job. And I was back there with one of our other processors. And we were just, you know, working on clothes, hanging them, folding them up, do what we do. And in the middle of in the store, you could hear somebody scream. When you work in an outdoor type of store, screaming isn't necessarily a good thing, I would say. Like, and I just, like, my head cocked to the side, and I had this urge to run out there and go see what the fuck was going on. And that's when it hit me, going, this is what he was talking about. This is what my husband was talking about when he was talking to me about this. This is the shit that would get me hurt. And I was just like, oh. And the guy I was working with, my coworker, he's like, what is it? And I told him about what he said, and he's just like, oh yeah. And he's an older gentleman, so it's not like he really cares that much. But yeah, he was just kind of like, yeah, he's like, that's probably not a good habit to have. And I'm like, no, I really don't think it is. And I got off on a whole ass tangent about all of that, and I completely apologize. But yeah, back to what I originally was trying to get at with this story. Well, not even the story, this experience. If anybody ever tries to take you, I don't care how old or young you are, make a scene. Make a scene, make a big fuss, scream absolute bloody fucking murder, and do not let them take you anywhere. That's kind of all I have to say on that one. And I think that was a really good one to end this episode off on. So, to the outro. Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. If you know somebody who likes my content, feel free to send me their way in a share. If you would like to send me a message with your own story, rant, question, unpopular opinion, or if you want me to tell others how you fucked up today, or any day, send me a message via any of my social media found in the description below. Just look for my cute little avatar you see on whatever app you're listening on. Please, give a rating if you enjoyed what you heard today. I hear that they help out tremendously. And as always, I will catch y'all next time. Bye! Alright. And to everybody that is here in the live still, this is it for me. I know tomorrow for sure, today is Tuesday, tomorrow for sure, I will probably be doing a lot of lives back to back, so it'll be me recording, stopping a recording, doing another one, mostly because it makes it easier for me to have them individual than to have to go through and edit them and do all that. Also, Is this it? Yep. I will continue with this like I did with the last one to do our extra one because I do have time to do that today. So just give me a few minutes. I'm going to get this all set up of the one that we just did, and then we're going to move on to our extra one and record that real fast. So if you want to hang around, that's great. If not, that's fine too. You can always watch it later on YouTube. Links in the description, or links in my bio. What episode did I say we were on? Do you really think I can remember what happened 45 minutes ago? No. No. Not at all. Why would that be a thing? Episode 9. Oh shoot, I was on episode 9. Whoops. Oh, I can rename them. Oh. Insert an ad. Save. And I'm just going, I will update episode details later. I think. I will do all the other little like small bits that I usually do after I get off of here with you guys. Oh, you're gonna make me. All right, there we go. It made me put something into the description so I can get out of it, but and then I gotta scroll all the way back down. This one. I'm very excited for these because I love this series that we're doing for the extra one. If anybody else listening now in the live or later on, if you have a story, like it does not have to be a standalone story. If you have like a series that you would like to have narrated, I would be more than happy after I'm done with this series, which I think right now has 7 or 8 stories. I need to look to see, actually. I might actually just do that really quick and see if he has any extra ones. I don't think so. Yeah, if there are any. Okay. Yes. All right. I think he usually sends them to me. Oh, nope. I need to stay in that. If you have any that you would like sent for an excerpt, if you have a series of it, feel free. Feel free to send it to me. Find my social media. You can send it to me via Facebook. You can send it to me via Instagram. If you want to send it to me on Reddit, my Reddit username is always in the description too. Any way that you feel comfortable sending to me, go for it. And if you want credit for it, as per usual, I will always give credit. So we're going to go ahead and do the intro really quick. Why did I back out of that? Why am I dumb? Why am I dumb? I couldn't tell you. All right, we're going to do that real quick. And we'll get started with the excerpt. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Phoenix Reads. Today's episode is our extra Fright Day episode. We are continuing the series. I don't really have a series name for it. Nobody has made a suggestion for it yet, but it is our Grandpa series. That's what we're going to call it. It all focuses around that Grandpa character. It's our Grandpa series. That's what we're going to do. As usual, the username for the story, the username whose story we're reading today will be in the description below. Please, please, please go give them some love. They their writing is absolutely amazing. We have done some others of theirs before, in like our main ones, but all of his are so good. Please, 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 please go give him a love. Go let him know that they're so good and keep it going so that way he continues, because he has done so many good ones already. They're always so fun to read. And as usual, we will get started right after this ad. I don't know why I break away from my script every time I do an excerpt one. I really could not tell you at all. I don't know why I am this way. Nah. Okay. I was just making sure. I did not. Whatever. I'll try to remember when I go back. I forgot to add my intro music to that intro. I'll do it later. Whatever. It's fine. Alright, we are going to go ahead and get started with the actual story. Feel free to stick around. Alright, thank you for sticking around after that ad, but we are just going to go ahead and just roll into with our next, this is, I guess, technically chapter 3 from our Grandpa episode, or from our Grandpa series. This one is called Chirps from the Chimney. It's Christmas time in the Appalachians, and the holidays are a big deal here as they are anywhere else. That being said, Grandpa has had me busy for the last 5 days. On December 1st, as I lay sleeping off the leftovers of Thanksgiving turkey, which we have been eating all week, Grandpa shook me awake and said we had to get started. I tried to roll over, telling him to let me sleep a little bit longer. He just shook me awake again and told me to get up to help him get the things from the attic. When I asked him what things, he looked shocked. The Christmas decorations. We have to make sure everything is ready for the season. Grandpa has always been a nut for Christmas time. I can remember visiting my grandparents during the holidays and smelling the aroma of the season. Gingerbread, sugar cookies, Grandma's traditional fruit cakes, which she usually gave as gifts and tasted better than anything from the store, and the cinnamon miasma of homemade cider. I am so sorry if I butchered that word. Grandma baked from November 22nd until January 5th, and our house always seemed to contain a pie, a cookie, or some other confection that she had whipped up for the season. And while Grandma baked, Grandpa decorated. As we set it all up, I realized the Herculean effort Grandpa must have come into every year to make the house look as festive as possible. Garland was stretched on every eave, mistletoe hung in bushels, lights twinkled merrily, and the sounds of singing Christmas decorations, as well as the silent wooden Christmas decor, were everywhere. Some of you have asked me what Grandpa does with himself to keep busy, and I'm here to tell you that he's one of the finest woodworkers in the valley. He makes furniture, walking sticks, and many other pieces that he usually sells at the flea market, especially around this time of year. Even the most jaded child's eyes would often light up at the sight of a deer or a wolf that Grandpa had cozied out of a block of pine or spruce or maple. And many of the intricate decor pieces looked very homey amongst the singing horde of Walmart abominations. After a week of setting up plastic deer, hanging Christmas lights, and nailing garland around the house, I felt tired and a little scroogey. I had already figured in my head that, come the 1st of January, I was going to have to take this crap down and help him stow it again. Grandpa had thrown up half a Walmart holiday section, and a quarter of the local hardware store's holly jolly aisle. I just knew that it would take weeks to get it all back up there, and the thought was making me testy already. I was hanging stockings from the fireplace when I heard the sudden chirp of a cricket. I jumped a little, not expecting to hear the sudden invasion of the insect. I hadn't heard a cricket since the cold front we'd had a few weeks ago. He was a big fellow, too. His body was coal black, and his legs were long and sinuous. He sounded off again, hopping a little closer to the crackling fire, and I reached slowly for the magazine sitting on the table. This guy had clearly been hiding amongst the decorations, and I don't want to have to deal with him until spring. When my hand met resistance, I looked back to see Grandpa had caught the end of my magazine. "Don't do it, boy. It could be the worst mistake of your life." I gave him a strange look, but relaxed my arm. "Sounds like you have some experience with this sort of thing," I said, moving over to help Grandpa with the tree as he prepared to spin another of his yarns. Grandpa put a hand down for the cricket, and it seemed to come to him as though it knew him. "It was the worst month of my life, that was for sure," he began, putting the cricket on his shoulder of his plaid button-up and beginning his story with his usual flair. "'Twas the night after Thanksgiving, and all through our home, not one was sleeping because a cricket did roam. The cricket had been waking us up every night for 2 weeks. No one knew where he had come from. Snow had come early to the mountains that year, and there was never a time when there wasn't at least a few inches on the ground after Halloween. A blizzard was coming, and the old-timers were predicting feet of snow for Christmas. 2 of my cousins, John and Matthew, were staying with us for the foreseeable future. Their parents were up north and snowbound by a sudden blizzard. They had sent a letter with some money and asked us to look after them until they could get back. We were happy to oblige. Unlike Luke, they were good company. All of us were around the same age, 10 or close enough, and we spent our days in the yard building snowmen, having snowball fights, and sledding. It could have been one of the best Christmases of my life were it not for the cricket and what it brought with it. The cricket was still alive for 2 very good reasons. The first was that, as everyone in the Appalachians knew, a cricket in your hearth, especially at Christmas time, is good luck. My grandmother said so, and my mother and my father, not typically superstitious, also said so. Despite its chirping keeping us awake, my parents refused to kill it. They always held firm to the idea that the cricket would bring good luck, but I suspected there was also another side to that coin. The other reason was just as simple. We couldn't find him. We suspected that he was in the chimney, but he didn't seem bothered by the heat from our fireplace. My parents assumed he was in a crevasse in the stonework, and that's why his chirps were so loud. His chirping would come vibrating down the chimney stack and quaver across the house so we could all suffer his noise. Then, one day, I suppose I finally had enough. It was late. Gosh darn it, give me a second. It was late, the middle of the night, and the cricket had been sounding off every hour. A single loud chirp that would scrape across my conscience like a razor and bring me shuddering awake. After 7 or 8 days of this, I was getting rattled, and the lack of real sleep was starting to make us all a little cranky. No matter how many pillows you put over your head, or how hard you stuffed cotton in your ears, or whatever you decided to do to block it out, the sound would shiver into your eardrums and bring you awake with jarring clarity. I had gotten up to get a drink of water when I finally saw the little bastard. I was walking to the kitchen when I heard him chirp. I turned to look at the crackling fire and saw his tiny form dancing in the backdrop. He was just sitting there, warming himself and chirping happily. I reached towards the counter as my hand closed around the fly swatter. knowing I was about to end his reign of terror. I could hear my grandmother's voice whispering that I shouldn't, but my sleep-deprived mind only wanted one thing. I wanted peace. I wanted quiet. And above all else, I wanted to sleep. The cricket looked up at me as though to ask me if it could help. His body crutched as I brought the swatter down on him, and for a moment I just basked in the sudden quiet as I headed back to bed. The silence wouldn't last long, though. No sooner had I climbed back into bed, snuggling down and getting ready to sleep, than I heard it again. The merry chirp of a cricket. My eyes popped open, and I looked around my room for the source of the noise. The room was empty, filled with the shadows cast by the moon as it played amongst my toys and clothes and other objects hanging around. The chirp had sounded close, though, like it was in the room with me. It had been annoying before, but now it was so loud I could barely stand it. I was getting ready to hunker down, thinking I was imagining things, when I saw a small black shape jump closer to the bed. It was framed in the moonlight, its antenna wiggling intently, and its shape was impossible to mistake. I covered my head with my pillow, burrowing under the quilts and blankets I had piled on my bed to keep me warm. They did little to stop my shivering as I lay hunkered beneath them, unsure of what to do next. Was it following me? Was it a ghost? I had left the cricket as a smear on the stones. I didn't know what to make of this new cricket, but its presence had definitely spooked me. When it sounded off beneath the covers, I jumped, scuttling backwards as I tried to get some distance between it and me. I could feel something on my face, its pinchy feet scuttling over my lips and cheek. Oh, sorry, I could feel something on my face, not my feet. And I slapped my hands to my face, trying to swipe it away. It seemed to be one step ahead of my searching hand, though, and when I felt the legs touch my ear, I slapped the side of my head, hard enough to make my ears ring. Despite my ringing ears, I still felt the cricket slide into my head, and my horror made me shudder in silence. Sorry, it just hit me what I just read. Oh, I don't like that. I felt the tears leak from my eyes as the sharp tweet of the cricket came from right inside my ear, sounding huge and deafening. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I was too busy hearing the cricket as he chirped inside my head. I woke up groggy and scared, unsure if it had all been a dream or if any of it had actually happened. I stuck my finger in my ear and rooted, not feeling anything. The chirping was gone, and by the light of day, I could believe that it was all just a dream. I could hear people talking quietly in the living room, and I rolled out of bed, ready to start another day of fun. My cousins were up already when I staggered into the living room. They were sipping mugs of heavily doctored coffee and looking at the snow as it came down. As I stood watching the fresh powder fall, I winced when a sudden loud chirp blistered my eardrum. I was on the verge of hyperventilating, having to come to terms with the fact that it had indeed been real. My eye felt like it might bug out of my head, and I staggered back a step as I clutched my ear. "What's wrong with you?" John asked, looking at me strangely. "Cricket," I gasped, putting a finger in my ear and shaking it. I felt nothing, and nothing came out, but I knew what I had heard. "I know, isn't it great?" Matthew asked. "First good night's sleep I've had all week. I didn't hear the little bugger all night." "Me either," John agreed, and they clinked their cups together in celebration. I was glad they had slept well, but it appeared my troubles were just beginning. The snow came down, piling high enough to cover Daddy's truck, and Mama was afraid that they would be snowbound soon. We had lots of supplies laid in, but with 5 of us living there, 24 hours a day, the supplies were likely to only last a few weeks. We were just kids, though, and while my parents worried about supplies, we played in the snow. I had hoped that the cold might deter the cricket, maybe even draw him out, but I never felt him stir all day. What I did feel was his ear-piercing chirp at random times throughout the day. When I came inside later, I had developed a slight twitch from the sudden and unpredictable chirps of the cricket. As the day persisted, my mother became concerned at the jumpy, twitchy way I was starting to act. The chirps were like an ice pick in my head, and I knew that I wouldn't sleep a wink that night for the noise. As I lay awake later, hearing a pair of crickets chirping at odd intervals, I remembered the crickets' chirps in the living room as a happy memory. The next week was a bit of a blur. I lived in a state of constant pain, and I don't think I slept more than a few minutes at a time. Sometimes the thing would chirp ceaselessly, making my head ring like the inside of a bell. Sometimes he would lure me into a false sense of security by not chirping for hours, only to chirp loudly just as I would drift off to sleep. Sometimes it would sound like one cricket, and sometimes it would sound like a whole swarm of crickets that hopped and chirped inside my head. By the end of the first week, I was ready for the funny farm, and I worried that my life would never be the same again. Luckily for me, Grandma came through again. After 7 straight days, the snow was halfway up the windows. It had been falling steadily, and a real blizzard was brewing outside. We had all been kept inside as Daddy tried to keep the front door clear, and my cousins were reading or playing with toys as I slowly went mad. I was sitting in the corner, the twitching becoming worse by the day, and everyone had started avoiding me. I had deteriorated mentally since the cricket had gotten into my ear, becoming a prisoner in my own body. I shook. I made strange noises. I pissed my pants sometimes, and I seemed to cry ceaselessly. I had seen a kid at school once that had fits, and he had sat in the back and twitched just this way. I remember being scared that I would be like this forever, and I remember praying to God to help me get this cricket out of my head. As if in response, the door burst open, and my grandma came in with a bundle of firewood under each arm. Grandma had come from her house to ours, and no one quite knew how she had made it with 2 large stacks of firewood. Mama had my cousins take the firewood and set Grandma by the fire. She didn't immediately see me, but her eyes grew wide and concerned when she did. She didn't say anything then, but she came to my room after my parents and cousins went to bed that night to talk to me. "What have you done, love?" she asked as I laid in bed. I turned my weeping eyes to her and stuttered out the whole story. I told her about the cricket, the constant chirping, and the erosion of my mental state, and she sat nodding. I explained it through the chirping explosions in my head, of my head's house guest, and she seemed ready to weep with me every time I twitched. She took it all in, and when I was done, she got up and said she needed some things from her home. "It may take me some time to get the things I need, but I think I can remove this curse from you. Stay strong, love. I'll be back as quickly as I can." For the next 3 days, I neither ate nor slept. Mama fussed over me, trying to get me to eat something. Daddy thought I had gone stir-crazy and told her to just wait and see if I snapped out of it. My cousins were curious, but ultimately grew tired of watching me lie on my bed and drool on my quilts. Inside my head, the crickets were the only ones who kept me company. Their chirping grew more erratic as time went on. Mama changed my clothes when I messed myself, but eventually just left me naked with a towel under me. I don't remember much about those days. I mostly just existed. Mama was getting worried about my grandmother too. "She just left out into the snow without a word. What happens if she freezes out there?" "Don't worry, Pook," my dad would say. "Mom's been living out on this mountain for a very long time. She knows how to come and go without much fuss." I hoped, in as much capacity as I could hope, that he was right. Grandma couldn't get lost in the mountains. Could she? I had seen her navigate these hills with ease in any season. The thought that she could get herself lost was laughable at best. But the thought that a cricket could infest my mind had seemed silly, too, a few weeks ago. Then, sometimes in the wee hours of the fourth day, I looked up and she was there. She picked me up as easily as a rag doll and took me through the dark house. The boards creaked sleepily, and the snow pattered gently on the windows. I could hear the sounds of my family as they snored around us, and if they heard us, they never stirred. She took me into the bathroom and locked the door, setting me into the heavy tub that had been Daddy's wedding present to Mama all those years ago. She poured in water, cold and fresh. As she opened her bag, she also had several buckets of lukewarm water and felt my skin break out in goose prickles as I lay there in semi-warmth. Hold on, sorry. Hold still now, and don't interrupt me, she said, pouring a packet of dried something. She sprinkled me with dust, with herbs, with salves, and even something that stung my eyes and made my skin tingle. She chanted as she did it, and I could see the flicker of flames. Sorry. And I could see the flicker of flames as she spoke in her grandmother's tongue, as she called it. She spoke something long and musical, something deep and winding, and I felt a wriggle in my ear. I sucked in a ragged breath. It felt like someone was pulling steel wool out of my head, and I gritted my teeth as I waited for it to be over. Suddenly, I heard a loud plop as it fell into the tub. I turned my head to look, but she hissed at me to be still. She likely knew what was coming next, but I was unprepared for the sudden torrent. My ears began to buzz, and my head felt like it might burst. I could hear the ringing of 1,000 different crickets and felt them pouring out and filling the tub. Their feet and antennae scraped at my ears. Their shrill cries made me want to scream, and as they fell into the water, I heard them tweet in pain as they drowned. My grandmother lifted me out suddenly, holding me close as the sounds of dying insects grew louder and louder. When it finally stopped, we cried together, and my ears were mercifully quiet. I looked at him, the fireplace twinkling in his eyes as he came back from that long ago Christmas time. "So your grandmother cured you?" I asked. "Well, sort of. I've had a persistent ringing in my ear ever since, but the chirping was indeed gone. A few days later, and I was back to my old self, though I could still swear I heard the phantom cricket sounds for about a week after she took the curse off of me." My eyes went a little wide then. "The cricket cursed you?" Grandpa nodded. It was all that Grandma could figure. The little critter had been killed needlessly, and instead of good luck, it had bestowed a curse instead. Grandma said I'd been lucky she came around. The crickets in my head would have eventually become too much, and I would have probably died or gone too crazy to ever come back. I looked back to the cricket, now showing a bit more respect. "What will you do with that fellow?" Grandpa told me to follow him, and he took me back to his room, in his bathroom, the whole thing wrapped with a towel to keep the cold out. It was a small mesh cage that contained about 5 or 6 sluggish crickets. They nibbled at potato slices, drank water from a dish, and hopped around the wood chips on the floor of the cage. Grandpa added his new friend to the cage and smiled at me as he closed the little door. "I'll take them to the woods when it gets warm, the ones who last the winter. I always release them come spring so they can bring luck to others next winter." I hugged him then. I'm glad he had saved me from something similar to the fate he had endured, and he patted my back happily. Now come on, he said after a few minutes spent listening to the crickets tuning up their cage. We have to make this place ready for Santa Claus. I met him once. Did I ever tell you about that? And we went back to our decorating. He told me about a night in Alaska where he had indeed met the jolly old man himself. From all of us at Grandpa's cabin, nestled deep in the North Georgia mountains, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. May the crickets on your fireplace bring you luck in the years to come. As always, I very much enjoy this Grandpa series. It's so good. It's hard not to enjoy it, you know? I'm enjoying getting into it. I'm enjoying, I always want to go to the next one and to the next one, and I can't wait for the next time we record, which will probably honestly be tomorrow, for me, because, like I mentioned, I have a wedding coming up, my wedding, and so I will be mass recording and going live on TikTok. So if you follow me on TikTok, you might catch me going live. You might actually be able to catch me if I go live. Well, when I go live tomorrow, because it will be a Wednesday, I will be able to do it during the day. My kids start school today. It's a whole thing, y'all. But yeah, so thank you all for coming with me on this, once again, little extra episode that I put out on Fridays with this Grandpa series. I'm very much enjoying it, and I hope you guys are too. Thanks everyone for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. If you know someone who likes my content, feel free to send me their way in a share. If you would like to send me a message with your own story, rant, question, unpopular opinion, or if you want me to tell others how you fucked up today, or any day, send me a message via any of my social media found in the description below. Just look for my cute little avatar you see on whatever app you're listening on. Please, give a rating if you enjoyed what you heard today. I hear that they help out tremendously. And as always, I will catch y'all next time. Bye! Alright. And then, as usual, I will see you guys next time, which, for TikTok, it will be tomorrow. Alright, bye!